Welcome, guys. Welcome back to another ProfileTree podcast episode. So, this week, then we are going to look at social media, but specifically focusing on engagement. So, engagement always feels like one of those business buzzwords, doesn't it? Where people say it all the time, but we're not actually 100% sure if everyone 100% sure if everyone knows what it means. Um, so I suppose, my sort of understanding and definition of engagement in terms of social media is, how users react and interact with the content that they're seeing, whether that be from brands, businesses, individual accounts, influencers, that kind of thing. So yeah, so obviously that's what we're thinking in terms of what engagement is. But Ronelle, do you want to kind of explain to the listener what the types of engagement are on social media?
Yes. So the types of engagement, you've got your likes, you've got your shares, and then of course you've got your comments. Now, a lot of people assume that you just have to keep posting every single time. The important thing is to note that you've got all of these other options as well, which is to comment under people's posts. So that's another great way of getting some engagement, as well as reposting and sharing them. So whether that's different social media platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, it's important to take into consideration all of the different types there. One thing as well, whenever you're uploading, don't always upload every single day. That's one big mistake from observation is what I've seen. Everybody for some reason think, oh, right, I should be uploading Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, that's incorrect. There's several different ways to approach uploading. You could try different days, different times. Don't always stick to the exact same time as well. It's going to be completely different for every single season. And of course, with the times there. So, say for summertime, a lot more people are tend to be active, coming home from work or coming home from a beach time or whatever they're doing. They're coming back at around 9 or even at latest 10. Of course, it's going to be slightly different for every single country as well. So that's another thing that you should consider. So uploading within those times, say 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. to try to get some engagement, it won't always work. So don't expect instant results. A lot of people think, oh yes, okay, I'm gonna start uploading at this time. I'm my engagement rate and my reach is gonna be drastic from last time. No, it's almost like a learning process for your social media platform. That's what a lot of people mistake as well. And then another thing that I've noticed, just with general observation, is that some people quite literally upload the exact same content for a duplicate content for all their social media platforms. It's best to know that with your LinkedIn, that's more business to business. Then, of course, you've got your Facebook, which is more informational and visual. And with your Instagram, I always treat that more of a portfolio. I guess you guys could say different. I'm not too sure what way you treat it, but to me, I always like to make that look like, oh, this is my grid, this is my expertise, this is something I need to show you. Then TikTok is more leading towards younger demographic nowadays. So
We've talked obviously about the different types of engagement. Gabby, for you, are there any certain types of engagement that you would say are more important to businesses?
Yeah, for sure. Just because I think when you think of engagement, you think of, say, like Renell mentioned, like likes, comments, saves, and shares. But what you have to also realize is that different platforms have different preferred engagement metrics. So, say, for example, on TikTok, TikTok has a big thing for having comments on posts, having replies to posts. But even within comments, if you use comments with more than 9 words, as being more valuable. So that is like a higher value level of engagement that it'll push through. The other one as well, just staying with TikTok as a platform, it also looks at, do videos get watched more than once? Are videos being watched the whole way through? So I think when you think of traditional engagement metrics, it is changing with different platforms. And I think that's where you want to think about that. It isn't just as simple of looking to get a like on a post. It's how you can tell the algorithm that your audience are interested in your feed. And that's the engagement that's then going to work well with you with the algorithm and push it out to more of a wider audience.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also we kind of talk about the ideas of passive and active engagement, where passive might be um your views or saves or things like that. Active maybe is the one to consider more if you're if one of your goals with social media is, sales, lead generation as opposed to just brand awareness. Because I think that's a really key thing. Is like, it's great to get views on a reel if what you're looking for is for more people to actually be aware of your business and what it does. But if what you're actually looking for is cold hard sales, then I think things like people sending direct messages or comments or tagging other people under posts, like, I think that's something that's really important for them to do, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's not only, say, for example, it's not even just working with the algorithm. If you think of even in terms of audience behavior, especially I think pretty much since the pandemic, when it comes to businesses that we want to buy from online, we have a higher level of maybe distrust or hesitancy with trusting businesses. So if you have, say, a post on, say, Instagram that has comments from customers saying, bought this is great, or are tagging their friends saying, I told you about this, or anything like that, that build, although it say it's great engagement for your post, it is ultimately almost like transferring as a sales kind of technique, because then there are other people, say if that you even see an Instagram ad and that leads you to that post. And I know it's definitely something that I do. If I ever see an ad on any platform, my first protocol is to go look at their content to see what people are saying on their posts. So if you have that type of engagement, rather than just say likes or shares, if you can see that people are engaging with comments and feedback, that could be the deciding factor that makes you think, okay, yeah, I am going to go buy that product, or I'm going to look into that service a bit more.
When I think about, social media engagement in terms of like the technique that always stood out for me was, the like and share type post where it would be some sort of competition or giveaway. Do you think something like that still works, or is it a bit of a cliche now in terms of social media?
I think it works for competitions, because I think if you're, I think, say with a competition post, it's almost like instructions of you can't enter this without doing that kind of thing. But I think when it comes to organic content, I think as users now, we don't like feeling that we're being sold to. So kind of going about it in a more relatable way is going to be more effective. So say, for example, putting in your caption, so say if it was like a skincare company, putting in your caption, do you have these skin problems? Let us know how we can help you, or check out these products. It's making it more relatable rather than saying, say, oh, like and share this or buy now, because that's where you're going to get the higher level of engagement, I think.
Oh my God, so true. And it's like that kind of establishing a connection between business and consumer. I guess it's so easy to think of customers as just this like faceless entity. But it's about actually trying to connect and engage and relate to them as people and not just customers. Um Renelle, a tough question, but what would you say is your number one tip that you give to clients in terms of, generating and increasing engagement with their social media content?
So number one, a lot of people step into paid advertising straight away, and I don't agree with this. This is something that is very, very common from what I've seen with the clients that I've worked with. If I was in a business position, I would gauge to see what social media platforms I need to work with first, then come up with a strategy and plan, see what sort of engagement will work towards a specific audience, then publish my social media posts. Take a note of those times, take a note of those days, and that's my go-to tip.
Yeah, definitely. So no hitting and hoping that
No hitting and hoping.
it's very true. It's something that we've always kind of agreed with here at ProfileTree is organic content is king, isn't it? Start with the basics, see what works with you and actually, put together a plan rather than just hoping for the best. Gabby, what about you? What would you say is like a key thing for clients to consider?
I think probably from my experience with working with like this businesses in different industries, one common obstacle I think I find that everyone really has is the lack of time, and then how much time social media needs. So I think my biggest piece of advice, and it usually is, say, for example, if I'm working with a business that maybe has Facebook and Instagram, and they'll ask me, should we go to TikTok? Or they're maybe finding struggles with managing all their existing platforms. My piece of advice is always think of where your audience is, because you're better dedicating the time. So say if your audience is maybe a younger demographic, you're better focusing on platforms like Instagram and TikTok to reach them and go where their conversations are happening, rather than maybe dedicating your time, say, to Facebook that has an older demographic where you're maybe actively putting the content out, but it's falling to deaf ears because your audience isn't there. And I think when you then consider where you want to allocate that time, you're going to be putting more time into something that's then going to give you the return on it.
Yeah, I think it's a common mistake, isn't it? Where people feel like they need to be active on every single social media channel just because it exists. And it's like, well, that's nice if you have a huge marketing team and it's relevant. But definitely you have to consider the context and the audience, because at the end of the day, if you're not reaching them, then it is kind of pointless. I think one of the things I'd consider too is I suppose the key thing with social media engagement is that you can't buy it. So obviously you can buy reach effectively because you can put, ad budgets behind it and try to reach as many people in a specific location as you want. But obviously with engagement, it really is earned, and it's about, I suppose, effort and strategy and planning. Ronelle, how do you feel? Do you think that maybe luck is a part of it as well? Do you think some things can become viral or, just get picked up in a certain way? Do you think luck is part of it at all?
I think it's a 50-50. I have my own TikTok. I try to be an influencer, not really, but I could see whenever I was uploading on TikTok with the algorithm there. I think it was luck because I did upload at a pretty horrible time and a horrible day, but for some reason I still managed to get about 2,000 views with 200 likes, and that was my first one that I've ever uploaded on TikTok. Then I was just like, right, okay, maybe I'll try to upload a different video and see how that goes with a planned date and a planned time. Did woeful. So I was like, okay, that's interesting to see, because obviously I had planned this one. Is it because TikTok has following this sort of algorithm, or was my plan not enough? Was the video not engaging enough? I did have a look back at both the videos, and yeah, I could see the engagement for that first one. That second one was lacking that sort of appeal, especially for a younger audience. So in a way, Laura, I would agree. Luck, tiny bit, like this much. So yeah.
I guess it's one of those things, isn't it, where you can have good days and bad days. But the key thing is to just keep fruiting on. And even if you have a really great post that probably should get loads of engagement and maybe doesn't get the reaction that you want, not to give up, and to just keep sticking to the strategy and adjusting it as you can, and whatever you think might help. A really important thing for a business to understand is that as much as it's about the content in the first instance, we need to manage engagement as well. So, Gabby, what do you think are the next steps in terms of managing engagement? Once the content is out there, what else can brands and businesses be doing to improve it?
Well, I think it depends on platform to platform. And I think that's even when I work with clients, one of my biggest pieces of advice is that even if they aren't very active on social media themselves, and it doesn't even have to be posting, but I think definitely spending time on the platform is the best way to get an idea of the best ways to manage your engagement. So say, for example, like I mentioned with TikTok, replying to comments, but one piece of advice, just even for TikTok, that I always give clients is that when your video goes live, go in and give it a like, a save, and even hit the share button, because you're giving your video, as soon as it's gone live, a boost of engagement. And that's going to be almost like an alarm bell to the algorithm to say, this video has just gone live. It's already getting engagement. Let's push it out a bit further. Even in staggering that a little bit. So I've seen some creators on TikTok talk about how if you want to boost engagement for your content, maybe say watching it for the first, say, 5 seconds, hitting like, watching it for another 5 seconds, hitting save, watching it for another 5 and giving it a share, because then that staggered engagement is also a great way to tell the algorithm, oh, okay, they're even, it's not even just straight off the bat someone's saying watching the video the whole way through and engaging. But in terms of, say, like other platforms like Instagram, one piece of advice I always give is that when you put up a new post, you should share it to your stories. If you can do it immediately, great. But if not, even just sharing older posts you maybe want to bring attention to, because when it comes to engagement, you're really trying to think of your audience behavior. And I know, just because Instagram's probably one of my top used platforms myself, that I know that when I open Instagram, I spend my first 5-10 minutes going through stories before I'll even touch my main, scrolling through my main feed. So by sharing your stories to your sharing your posts to your Instagram stories, what you're doing is you're effectively taking your content out of Instagram's hands, bringing it directly to where your audience is first. And then if they see you're posting a story and they tap into it, or they tap into it and like it, or share it, or even comment on it, all that engagement that you're going to get, that is then going to be a benefit for them when you post the next time, because then any of your audience that have engaged with that post, because they've shown that engagement, that means then the next time you post again, your content is effectively going to come up quicker on their main feed as well, as their stories.
Absolutely. And you're effectively doubling up the kind of exposure. And I guess it's quick wins like that our clients are so interested in. Because we are big fans of, work smarter, not necessarily harder. So that's excellent. Renelle, any sort of quick wins that you would recommend to your clients in terms of, I suppose, boosting engagement with posts?
So commenting under people's posts, it's one of the main things or main tips that I would recommend. It's just you're creating that sort of engagement with someone's post. People would be curious enough to be like, okay, who's that that commented? And that could spark enough reach for you as a business. Another one would be to do polls. So if you really want to create that sort of interaction with your audience, polls would be the best way to do it. There's several different platforms there that you can use, which is the Instagram stories, or the sure, LinkedIn does it as well. Really good to just form that engagement and ask your audience questions. You might learn new things as well that your audience might want, especially if you're, let's just say you're a manufacturing company, and there's something there that your audience really wants, and they wouldn't know, or you wouldn't know if you didn't ask the question. So several different ways for that.
Yeah, definitely. I think polls are great because, they can, at the end of the day, just be a bit of crack in trying to generate that sort of fun and interaction with customers. And I think what you said about commenting under other posts, you almost at times need to treat your business account as a personal account. People forget to do it from the other way around, because that really helps as well. Liking other pages, liking other posts, remembering that the engagement is sort of two ways. So like definitely all those things are really, really important for people.
I think as well, what you also have to think about is engagement isn't just in terms of the metrics after you've posted. It should also be considered into the content that you're making. So say, for example, I've worked with businesses before that when they're posting, say, about their products or their services, maybe their posts get a handful of likes, whereas I've seen them maybe show, say, for example, on Valentine's Day, maybe showing the team holding, like, somebody bringing in chocolates or something like that, and it getting maybe 50-60 likes compared to their other content. So I definitely think incorporating that type of business culture content into what you're doing is also kind of another kind of tool to the belt of driving engagement on your channels.
Do we have any favorite good examples of sort of social media, either content or specific posts that we've seen recently from any businesses?
So, well, I have a couple. So there are two really well-known businesses. One that is EasyJet, and one that is Curry's, or also known as Curry's PC World formerly. So if I may share my screen, I'll go ahead and show you exactly what I mean. But basically, both of these two social media platform, or both of these two businesses, what they done was they took advantage of one of the memes. You can see even some of the comments that this has gotten, which is 3.6K, which is amazing, as you can see. A lot of engagement there, which is great to see. And yeah, that's all from following the trend. I'm pretty sure this is an AI image as well.
I was gonna say that it's too perfect, I think.
So there you go, guys. Take notes, jump on the trend. And even with Curry's, you can see how well they're selling their Henry vacuum cleaners. So this is perfect. I mean, unfortunately, I don't think you can get a design like this, but prime examples, Laura.
I'll take it. It kind of reminds me of the, the Royal Guards, let's say Buckingham Palace, with a slightly shorter helmet. Um,
Just needs that massive beard and
absolutely
yeah,
love it.
a wee gold chain around them for sure, for sure.
Yeah, Curry's is a great example. Like their content is really fun, relatable. Again, like you were saying, Gabby, you don't necessarily feel as if you're always being heavily sold to. It just feels like, oh, you're kind of local business, even though it's probably the biggest electrical retailer in the UK and Ireland. It just does seem like down to earth people who are just kind of just up for a laugh. Like it's so important.
I think to date, one of my kind of favorite ones were it was like the kind of battle between Aldi and Marks and Spencer's about the Colin the Caterpillar or Cuthbert cake. Because like I think we're like the way Aldi, although in my head, the way I was thinking was, you're currently in a legal battle. I don't really know if you could be doing things like this.
I think that was the funniest part was like, yeah, they were actually battling it out in the courtroom, but you know, at least publicly, they were able to have a bit of a banter and back and forth on it.
Yeah, because like I think it was one of their X posts or Twitter posts, I think during the time, now this was back in 2021, but which is bad to think it was that far ago. But what I remember one of their posts was there was kind of a play or a dig on Marks and Spencer's up. This just isn't any food. This is like Marks and Spencer's food, where they had posted, this is just not any court case. This is a hashtag free Cuthbert that it just allowed you to kind of root for them in a way, or kind of pick. It was almost like pick your challenger kind of thing with it. But I think that worked because then I think that's the thing is I think when business or when audiences or customers can see that businesses aren't afraid to maybe throw a spanner in the works and be a little bit more direct about things or have a bit more fun in their content, that's then going to encourage them. So say like even like with Henry, the Henry Hoover example that Renell had, someone could look at that and think it's funny, but in the back of their head they might think, oh God, yeah, I was meant to buy a new Hoover. Maybe I'll go to Curry's and have a look. So I think it can work that way.
Yeah, definitely. Do either of you have any, let's say, pet hates when it comes to, you know, businesses or brands trying to generate engagement, like cliches or anything like that, that you're like, oh, not again.
I think for me, it's the kind of hold on to the clickbait element of it, where, you know, say either in a caption or at the start of a video, or say if it's like a carousel post, it'll kind of get you hooked in and you think, oh, I'm about to find something out. And then you maybe get to the end of, say it's a carousel post, you get to the last image and it's, oh, buy this product now. And you're thinking, you helped me the whole time. And now I've got to realize it's just a sales technique that I'm not interested anymore. But I think as well as that, probably like pet hates would be businesses maybe jumping onto trends just because everyone else is doing it, but it feels so disconnected from their image or their tone of voice they've had before. You kind of feel a little bit awkward looking at it, thinking you went after maybe a viral moment, but now it's maybe changed the perspective that your existing customers have of you. So it's not ultimately worth it.
It's so true. Like I suppose a good example recently was obviously the Coldplay concert affair scandal. You know, like what you see there is like the perfect opportunity for example, a law firm or a divorce lawyer going, okay, we exist. But you know, it might be clutching at straws a little bit if you're, you know, jewelry retailer potentially or something like that, you know, is kind of trying to jump on the bandwagon. And it's like, yeah, pick your battles, definitely.
And I could understand some businesses obviously don't have time to be on the button and jump on things, but say like even like say using Coldplay example, it would be like a business using that type of meme or way to get engagement, say like a month from now, and you'll think that was something we all talked about for a week, say in July. It's not something that still has that same kind of, and I guess momentum behind it, that you could look at it thinking, not only look at it thinking, oh, that doesn't really suit your business, but you could think, oh, well, you're so late to the game that this just now looks like redundant content kind of thing.
You know, other things to consider with engagement in terms of social media posts is it's not just about the actual content, it's how you package it as well. You know, obviously we've been saying for a long time that video content is one of the most important things in the world. An extension of that, I suppose, is the music that you choose with it. So, you know, it's not just the stories that are trending, it's actual songs. Like I think something that we've seen really being pushed on platforms recently is obviously the Jet to Jessica and Hold My Hand song. It is everywhere. Obviously there's the TV and radio ads, but then it's being used on so many posts and they're so funny. But yeah, like what are your thoughts on the importance of music? Like, is that one of those things where if it has good music or bad music, you're more or less likely to engage with the content?
I think so, definitely, because so say for example, if you have the ability to use trending music, because obviously sometimes with some platforms, if you have a business channel, you are a little bit restricted. But I think if you use it, and I think if you use it in a good way, you're going to have that positive reaction of, oh wow, so say using Jet 2 Holidays as an example, and then you think, oh wow, they've used that in a really good way. But I also think even say outside of like trending music, I definitely think when it comes to video content, I think the choice of music that you have with that video sets the tone for the content itself. So say, for example, if you have a very slow paced looking video, but a very upbeat choice of music, it's not going to match. So you're not going to be able to because that's the thing with our attention spans are so short now that you have to have the ability with the content to grab on to the person that you say the audience member, but keep them with you for the video. Because if the music has that disconnect, they're more likely going to watch it for a few seconds and then think, okay, I'm not really sure what this is about, and then just scroll on past it.
Absolutely. I am terrible for if a video doesn't present itself, in terms of what's the purpose of this video? If I can't find that out within about 2 or 3 seconds, I've skipped on to the next one. It's terrible because there's so much great content out there, but maybe half of it's being missed because genuinely people are just like, nope, give it to me quickly. I think you were saying before, Ronell, that average watch time, is it down to 4 seconds?
4 seconds. Yes, insane. Even with the likes, it's coming to zero point 0.1 seconds. So that to me, what are you looking at in 0.1 seconds? So I've learned that with every video, especially for content that you're going to be creating, it has to be straight to the point. There's no point faffing around nowadays. You have to really show them what you're selling or what you want to showcase, or else you're just going to completely lose that your audience.
No, definitely. I think it really is all relevant. But at the same time, it's important for people to try a few different things and see what works for them. I think you mentioned something the other day, Gabby, about how you don't necessarily need to be producing like high level video content every time. You could be using sort of static image content, which you can now obviously turn it into reels, add your own music, add some effects. It doesn't need to take loads of time. It doesn't need to cost loads to your business. Like anyone can create this kind of even basic video content that can definitely have an impact.
Oh, for sure. Because I think when it comes to video content, especially because I think every platform now, video is priority, in terms of the median of the content that you use, that you don't have to think that, oh, well, we can't post videos because we don't have time to record videos. We don't know what we're recording. We don't have the skills to edit them. You can create, like you said, Laura, you can create videos, say on Instagram Reels through your product images by putting them all together and adding music to it. You could even say on TikTok, just upload an image of your product or say something to do with your business, add a bit of music to it, and it still counts as content. So I think the fact that video is so kind of in demand, I think that is a big kind of stress over businesses that that don't have that ability, but just to know that there are ways to navigate around it and still get the algorithms to work in your favor with it.
And especially what we see is a lot of people saying, oh, I hate being in front of the camera. It's like, well, you don't need to necessarily be in front of the camera. It could be your products or your workplace. So, try to get creative with it. So I suppose just to wrap up, guys, obviously we've seen a lot of changes, updates, improvements in some cases, maybe stepping back slightly for social media platforms over the past few years. To each of you, which platforms then do you think are still going to be here in 5 years? Gabby, you've got a wry smile. Do you want to go first?
This is like one of my favorite questions because I love debating about this. In my opinion, I think the platforms that are still going to be here, I don't think YouTube's going anywhere anytime soon. The fact it's been here since it's been here 20 years at least. And I think even the fact that, younger generations, even kids know how to use YouTube, I think it's kind of solidified its place in terms of a platform. The platforms I think aren't going to be here. I think Facebook definitely maybe has a year or two left in it before Mark Zuckerberg decides to just go full kind of meta glasses VR element of it. I don't think X is going to be here. Just even the fact that there was rumbles that Elon Musk was going to create it as like a paid subscription service. But I think Instagram has a good standing just because, in terms of the demographic, it's so wide, similar to TikTok. So I'd say TikTok probably in the same boat. I think their demographic kind of appeal is so wide that I think they'll be here. Although if they keep making changes and updates to the platforms, I don't really know what they could look like 5 years from now. But I still always have a little bit of hope that someday the old school kind of platforms like MySpace are going to make a comeback at some point.
I agree with Gabby. X and Facebook. I've not had any clients that have been like, please give me a mentoring session on X or Twitter. So with the likes of Facebook, I always see a shocking rate of, well, not in a bad way, of course, but there is the older demographic there. It saddens me because obviously, as bad as it was, I started my first Facebook at the age of 9. So, so yes, for me to kind of see Facebook fading away, it is a bit sad, but I would agree with the Gabby on that one. And X, I don't know, even with Threads as well, I think it might be a flop. It's just because obviously that's meant to compete with X, but with the way it's getting on there, it's just I don't see it sticking around for too long. And I know this is going to come out of the blue, but I do feel like TikTok will eventually be gone way like maybe for the next 5. It'll probably still be here for the next 5 years, but hopefully it doesn't reach the same way as Vine did, because that is kind of obviously almost the same vibe. But yeah, it's just I feel like another social media platform will take over.
Well, guys, thank you so much. It was great to have another ProfileTree podcast episode with you. Have a great week, and we'll see you all soon.
All right.
Thank you very much.